Welcome, folks. This is going to be a quick episode today, just because there's something that has dropped in the health space with respects to COVID-19 policies. Remember those things that we all struggled to wrap our heads around and divided our houses, lost friends, maybe lost some family members, but ultimately more or less tore apart the fabric of our civil society for the last 2 years. You remember those? Yeah. It was all based on a lie. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's directly related to your health. And having done numerous episodes on the impacts that this is having on us, not on the viral side of things, but on the mental health side of things, I thought I'd be remiss not to bring it up. Now, the reason why I'm bringing it up today is because there's been a great article that was written about the ongoing court proceedings that are happening right now at the Supreme Court of Canada regarding our travel mandates. So if you are not a Canadian and you're listening to this, yes, Canada had the most draconian and most insane travel restrictions only up to a few months ago. And the general consensus was, these aren't scientific, are they? We don't think there's anything other than a political will to impose these because of our leader, JT, being a petulant child. Turns out we were right. So all those that had that suspicion, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, how come I can go literally anywhere else? I can go to a football game. I can go to a hockey game. I can go to a concert. I can cough on each other at the grocery store, but I can't go on a plane with modern air filtration systems without a vaccine. Knowing that full well, the vaccines don't do shit. They don't do shit. The British are all over this. They're already saying, look, we can't push these things. They're really ineffective. Anybody with any sense knows that they are ineffective. When you get vaccines 2, 3, some people 4 times, and you get the virus that's supposed to protect against, you want your money back, man. We got scammed. So look at this. This is by, and clearly, guys, I'm not impartial on this, obviously. I have a very strong opinion on this, and it's only because they lied, and now that the truth is finally coming out. I'll share it with you guys right here. Let me just open this up. All right, so here it is on the screen. Really couldn't have done a better job of putting an awesome title. Court documents reveal Canada's travel ban has no scientific basis. In the days leading up to the mandate, transportation officials were frantically looking for a rationale for it. They came up short. Okay, without getting into the details of the article, which was written by Rupa Subramanya, who's a freelance journalist with the National Post. Okay, so we had one of Canada's largest, most serious, and the reason why I say that is because it infringed upon our highest law of the land, which was, or is, the charter. It infringed upon that because it said basically you have to make a Sophie's choice. You have to give up one of your rights in order to express another one or to use another one. So you had to give up your right to bodily autonomy for the right to travel. This has never been done in Canadian history. Never been done. So I got the vaccine because I wanted to travel. And I know the majority of my friends who are in their youth, like 40s and 30s, we all did the same thing. We're like, fuck, well, I want to go on a trip. I don't want to stick around here for God knows how long, because don't forget, these were indefinite. They were not given a bound. They weren't given a boundary, I should say. So therefore, it's like, well, is this going to be a year, 2, 3? I want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. So, okay, stick that shit in me. It probably won't kill me. So let's rock and roll. Imagine how historians are going to look at this, right? I put something in my body I didn't want in order to go on a trip. And that's what the majority of us did. And we just did it silently and said, whatever. I guess they know what they're talking about. They didn't. The reason why this is an incredible story is that if they lied and didn't have any scientific rationale to back this up, which is probably the most serious of all the policies that they instituted, which is the travel ban, therefore, isn't all of it based on a lie? Isn't all of it based on just a feeling? And therefore, everything needs to be investigated. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that there are members of the Canadian Armed Forces that got booted out of the military and being treated like treasonous dogs right now as we speak. based on these sack of shit lies. And so I'm a bit fired up because this is a major news story and nobody is covering it. These are public documents. You can go on Canadian websites. You can go on the Justice Department website. I think is it the Justice Department? I'm confusing American and Canadian stuff, but regardless, these are public documents because they had to be filed because it is at the Supreme Court. You can go read them yourself. There's thousands of pages, but this reporter did that and dropped this bomb, and nobody's making any hay of it. It's on some obscure pages. This is on a Substack. This is Barry Weiss's Substack, which is really well done. Now, the only other person to have done anything that's got some serious weight is Jordan Peterson. So on his podcast, so he did an episode called Trudeau, Travel, and the Science, episode 281. And he has a whole panel of people on it. I'm just going to play, this is right now, what I'm going to show you is just the screenshot from the episode itself. And let's just play that real quickly.
If this really had been about saving lives, why didn't Trudeau just impose the mandates and campaign on them as a fait accompli? That would have been the right thing to do. Instead, he cleverly used these mandates as a wedge issue. And unfortunately for him, he managed to just eke out another minority government. But in the process, he ended up dividing the country. He ended up demonizing and marginalizing millions of Canadians who were unable or unwilling for a range of different reasons to get the vaccine.
Yeah, well, and a huge part of the reason they were unable or unwilling to get the vaccine was because they didn't trust the Trudeau government at all. And so there were all sorts of people, and some of them, I suppose, were conspiratorial in their inferences, but many weren't, who thought there's something fishy going on here. I don't trust this a bit. And those were all the people who were demonized as, radical anti-vaxxers.
Bingo. I was deemed to be radical. I lost friends, all because this was fishy. I don't trust Big Pharma. I don't trust a vaccine that's brought out in a matter of months and deemed a medical miracle. Right off the bat, this did not pass the smell test. And like I've said in other podcasts, key bono. Who benefits from this? Who ultimately benefits? Because I can tell you that these vaccines did not benefit me in any way, shape, or form. I did not have to worry about this virus. Basically, anybody under the age of 50 didn't have to worry about this virus. I mean, assuming, like I said numerous times, are you tracking your comorbidities? Are you obese? Are you a smoker? Are you inactive? These are the things that were really important with respect to recovering from this virus. And if I were to say, well, you know what, I'm healthy, I'm fit, I don't have to worry about that. I take care of myself. I don't need this thing. I was deemed to be a racist and a misogynist. Unsat. Totally unsat. And now we're realizing it's all based on a goddamn set of lies. Nobody had anything to back it up. Go read this. Just go read this. Go read this article. Go do a little bit of research. Look at this blog post, or I should say podcast. It's a panel that Jordan Peterson put together with the lawyer that's involved with bringing the case to the federal government, with the two individuals that brought the case, two businessmen, Canadian businessmen, that said, fuck this. This is retarded. We can't live like this. This is quasi-tyrannical. All right, you can't do this. We have rights, and if we don't uphold them, then, and if it's based on a lie, then what have we done? We've descended into what? Nihilism? We've descended into a failed state. What's the point of having these laws if we don't uphold them? Regardless of what you feel about people that don't take a vaccine, this is more important than that. This is more important than all that. And there's a reckoning coming, folks. If we can't trust the government when they bring in massive legislation on policy that is meant to be following the science, where do we go from here? There was no science. They didn't have a shred of science. They tried to make things up in order to justify this. How many years did we go through this based on a lie? This is huge, huge, huge. I want to also show, if we were really concerned about health, if we were really concerned about what was going on, we would have taken a look at the impacts that we had on individuals like children based on the policies we were making. What we see now, and I'm going to share this here, is weight gain associated with COVID-19 lockdown in children and adolescents, a systematic review and meta-analysis. Let's look at what happened. Okay. Lockdown is an effective non-pharmaceutical intervention to reduce coronavirus 19, but it restricts daily activity. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's effective? All right, cool. How effective? Well, they looked at the fact that individuals that were locked down, how did that affect their health? Okay, so conclusion. Our meta-analysis showed significant increases in body weight and BMI during lockdown among school-age children and adolescents. The prevalence of obesity and overweight also increased. The COVID-19 pandemic worsened the burden of childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is a death sentence. It's a death sentence. The prevalence of type 2 diabetes goes through the roof. The prevalence of cancers later on in life, the prevalence of literally every shitty disease that you could possibly imagine go through the roof when you were obese as a child. And this is just, I deem to be an acceptable result when children had no risk to this disease. No risk. Right? If you say, oh, they had a little risk. Well, okay, they have a little risk from literally everything that's out there. Okay? The most critical thing, the largest risk factor for a child is literally getting in your car and driving them to school, driving them to literally anywhere that is not, okay, right at home. Simple as that. Thanks, Buck. So, those Twizzlers for me? All right, cool. Just got some Twizzlers for my kid. So, obesity goes way up. Now, take a second data point. This is a report from 2021 from Sick Kids. Okay, Sick Kids. This is here in Canada. What happened was you have a massive increase in mental health disorders. Mental health disorders to the point where I don't know if you can recover from this. So, loss of in-person school had significant impact on child and youth mental health. Okay, so the research team found mental health did not improve as the school year resumed. Okay, there was majority of children and youth reported worsening mental health during the initial COVID-19 lockdowns. Over half of 758 children aged 8 to 12 years old, and 70% of 520 adolescents reported clinically significant depressive symptoms during the second wave. That's February to March 2021. And don't forget, this went to 2022. So what are we going to see here? They're obese and they're mentally broken. Well done. Well done. We've got a generation now that we have to fix because we busted them up for something that wasn't a risk factor, all based on lies. Well done. There's a reckoning coming, guys. That's it. That's all I have to say. There's some sort of reckoning coming. I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm not talking violence here. I'm talking politically, right? There has to be something that changes, and it's got to be really aggressive because we can't put up with this shit anymore. This was a serious issue that took part over basically 3 years, and now we're realizing it's based on lies, and your health was leveraged as a wedge issue for some political party. Holy shit balls. Not cool. Not cool. Okay, so ultimately, you guys, stay in the fight, stay healthy, keep working on losing that body weight, take care of your own health, and we need to ensure that this kind of shit never happens again. Okay, so this whole medical tyranny bullshit needs to end, and we need to ensure that there are laws that are put into place that enshrine that your health is your decision. Whether a politician disagrees with it or not, you're not a racist, you're not a misogynist, you're not a piece of shit. You can do what you want with your body, because if not, then do we live free? I'd say no. All right, guys, that's it for me. Train hard, fight easy. Look at all this stuff. I'm going to post the links here in the description. Peace.